So it's week 6 of our BABOK study group, and we're going to be covering chapter 7, which is the requirements analysis and design definition knowledge area. And this is the knowledge area that has the largest distribution of all of the core IIBA certification exams. So basically you have the most questions coming from this chapter. So it's a pretty important one to understand and be clear on. So this particular knowledge area talks about the things that we do as BAs to structure, organize the requirements that we discover during the elicitation activities. So that's how we're going to be specifying and modeling them, validating them, verifying them, identifying solution options that meets the needs, and then estimating the potential value for each of those requirements that we have elicited. So a lot of the activities can range from, the initial concept all the way through the exploration of the needs through elicitation, and then transforming those into a particular recommended solution. One thing to note is that both requirements and designs are tools that BAs use to guide the change. We don't just focus on requirements and then let the technical teams focus on designs. While the technical teams and development teams might be leading the discussions on that, we should definitely be heavily involved with the design discussions and making sure that those designs conform to the requirements. So both requirements and designs can be very high level or very detailed, depending on who's looking at the information, what we're presenting to people, and how far along in the project we are. And so typically we would be working with subject matter experts, implementation subject matter experts, and BAs typically will work together in order to determine the potential value of requirements and design. And so the image that we have here is back to our business analysis value spectrum. So again, the potential value is when we're still in, strategy analysis or conceptual phase, and we're, identifying the needs and the solution scope. And then when we're in solution evaluation, that's where we start seeing actual benefits that we can actually measure with the proof of concept or some type of beta testing or the full deployment. Now, requirements analysis and design definition basically falls right in between those two areas, where we are actually representing the needs, right, with the requirements, and then representing a solution with the design. So that is going to be our input for these things here, so that we can start measuring the potential value of those things. So this knowledge area, requirements analysis and design definition, aka RAD, has 6 tasks. So those 6 tasks include specify and model requirements, verify requirements, validate requirements, define requirements architecture, define solution options, and then analyze potential value and recommend solution. So when we're specifying and modeling requirements, it's basically how we are describing a set of requirements using detailed BA techniques. Now, specifying requirements is usually more so about text communication, right? It's usually how the words that we use to clarify meaning and communicate things through text, whereas modeling is usually a lot more visual and pictorial. So when we hear modeling, we usually think visual, but sometimes modeling can mean, using tabular forms or things like that. And then verifying requirements is where we make sure that the requirements and designs are developed in enough detail so that they're usable to the people down the line, and that they are going to allow for work to continue, and that they're very high quality. So verifying requirements is more so dealing with correctness and quality, whereas validating requirements is where we're trying to make sure that the requirements and design are really supporting the business goals and objectives. So you typically want to make sure that you've documented the needs as intended before you try to get them validated to make sure that they're meeting the goals and objectives. And then define requirements architecture is where we want to make sure that all of the requirements and designs are supporting one another, and that they are forming a cohesive whole, right? They're painting a full picture, and that they are supporting the overall purpose of the change. Define design options. That's where we're going to be exploring all of the different ways to meet the need, and then we're going to eventually be selecting one, but we still have to identify all of the potential ways of meeting a particular need or set of requirements. And then analyzing potential value and recommending solution is where we're kind of going back to these design options and assessing them, and determining the value of each of the requirements that are within those designs, and then discussing some trade-offs between each option, and then eventually recommending a solution for the best overall option that's going to generate the most value. Then we have our core concept model. We went over that during week 1. And in this chapter, it basically describes the core concept model in relationship to the requirements analysis and design definition. So I always recommend that you guys go through and learn the knowledge area first, and the tasks and the elements within the knowledge area, and then go back through the core concepts, the change, the need, solution, stakeholders, value, and context, and see how they are, how each of those concepts are applied in this particular knowledge area. And then our visual here is giving us our inputs and outputs for this knowledge area. This is for the entire knowledge area. So we are going to be looking at requirements and designs quite a bit. So requirements at any state are going to be inputs. Information management approach is an input. The elicitation results are input. The potential value that we're estimating, the solution scope, and the change strategy are all inputs into specifying and modeling requirements, verifying requirements, validating requirements, defining requirements architecture, defining design options, and then analyzing potential value and recommending a solution. And so for the most part, our outputs are really just our requirements and design in a particular state, but we also have our requirements architecture. But the outputs include the requirements that are actually specified and modeled, the requirements that are verified, requirements that are validated, design options, and then the solution recommendation that we are going to make as our final step.